Uislamu kuoa lazima.
It is about the sacrament.
As the couple, we all want a small intimate wedding. Hautaki watu wengi.
The cost of having weddings in Kenya is becoming more and more expensive, especially in urban areas. This is because everyone wants to have a day that perfectly fits to the perfectly best. Over the years, weddings have been attributed to how much the couple spends to make the day a success. The wedding of Prince Charles to Lady Diana Spencer is the most expensive wedding in history. It cost $110 million. There have been misconceptions of what a wedding is. Some people think it's about the glamour, the number of guests, food, etc. But what exactly is the meaning of wedding?
People think a wedding is about the cake, the decorations and stuff. I think a wedding is about people coming together, families coming together to celebrate two people who are in love, beginning a new family or a new chapter in their life. The rest of it is just superficial.
The coming together of two people, and mainly a male and a female, in a marriage contract by mutual consent.
It's not about the crowd, no. It is about the sacrament, which is actually something very good. It is not about people coming and eating and drinking, no.
These days, people are privileged to celebrate weddings in their own ways and styles. No one will dictate to couples what kind of wedding to have. Couples have a variety of wedding types to choose from, depending on their taste and preferences.
Of course, there's a church wedding, where of course you have your ceremony in the church. Mostly that's Catholics. Catholics don't do any, very rarely will you find them doing outdoor weddings as in the service. So that would mean that you start at the church, a ceremony, and then decide whether you go into a hotel or you'll go into a hall or you'll do it out in the open, which now we call a garden wedding. Then a full garden wedding would be now you start from the beginning, your ceremony is in outdoors, and the reception is outdoors and maybe to the after party. Then there are those who decide to do it out of town, which we call, it will be more like an out of town wedding. So that one would be, for example, if you want to do it in Mombasa or you want to do it in Naivasha. Then there's of course the AG's, which is the easiest weddings of all. So it's all of 15-20 minutes, go to the AG's office, have a party after that and move on.
Marriage is a significant rite of passage in African society. Does the church recognize the traditional type of weddings? And do couples find it suitable to wed traditionally?
Let's say traditionally there are people who before they were joined in marriage would go through the customary way. They would do what you call the traditional marriage. This, I'm not talking about the issue of paying dowry. There is a traditional way of saying they are now officially married. There is even a ceremony that would be followed. Let's say, for example, you have gone through such a celebration and you are able to prove that I went through the traditional marriage. We still take that as a valid marriage, meaning that if you want to come to the church, you want to solemnize your marriage, the planning may not be as elaborate, you understand, because we also take that to be a recognized, even according to the laws of Kenya, it is actually a recognized marriage.
For me, traditional wedding would look more, I would think, is that thing where you go home and you have your family come over, and it's more like a ratio thing as opposed to going down the church and having this whole big thing. I guess if that's it, then the difference would be it's probably cheaper to have a traditional wedding, because then a lot of family pitch in and, and give you money and everybody wants to cook, and it's a more homely type of thing. And I think you get to know the people who come to the traditional wedding. I think the Western wedding, or so to speak, quote unquote, would be more like who your parents want to invite, because I think that one is more of a show. You want to, your parents want to say, oh, my daughter or my son is getting married, and you invite everybody and anybody, and you probably don't know half the people who come there. So I think the other one is more intimate and more homely.
Why is it important to wed?
The importance of having a wedding in Islam is to inform people. This is a formal way of informing people that, you know, Madam B or Girl B and Boy A have come together. Therefore, if you had the intention of going to propose to that girl, then that girl has already been taken.
Hatuwezi kuishi bila ya wenzetu. Watu waowe waume, waowe wanawake, ili kizazi kinachokuja kipate kwa uchache nidhamu nzuri ya kuweza kuwekwa vizuri mpaka nao waje washike usukani wa mambo yatakayokuwa mbele.
It is an obligation in Islam. Any person, a boy who has reached a marriageable age, to look for a girl in marriage, and we should not wait for long period. And third is the multiplication of the human race.
Wedding requires proper planning. Planning is an important aspect for soon-to-be wedded couples. Planning for a wedding, mostly in advance, helps couples to come up with a tentative and workable budget.
Now, my name is Gabriel Macharia, and I'm the Managing Director of Charisma Events. We handle event planning, and that's inclusive of wedding planning. Our niche market basically is in weddings. And when I mean wedding planning, is we assist couples who wish to have a smooth, more or less of a smooth sailing during their planning process. So from there, we outsource service providers for them. We choose them, we just give them options of each and everything from venue to cake, catering, gowns, everything that is needed to make that event a success. But everything is also determined by the budget of the client, and we customize everything in accordance to what the client needs and what they desire or want.
That is one of the biggest events that you'll ever plan. It is. It comes only once, so everything has to be perfect.
Normally, I advise, if you're so pressed of time, at least a minimum of 6. Start 6 months prior, but the sooner the better. Even 12 months is the best, in fact, because the pros and cons of mishaps are very minimal when you start sooner. But at least with 6 months, you're able to execute something that is conclusive and inclusive.
My name is Lilian Bentakini. I'm a fashion designer by profession. What makes a wedding expensive is you tend to see what others have done, like in the wedding shoes. You want to copy it and paste it, yet you can't afford. Work with a budget that you can sustain and still run your family together after the wedding.
Budget is very personal, and what you want for your wedding is also very personal. You can have, okay, there's a wedding I did, and the number was really high, and the couple told me, this is my budget. And of course, when I thought about it, I thought, that doesn't sound like it's going to work, but it worked. And the simple reason it works is because you look at it realistically. What is the most important thing in my wedding? Is it the cake? Is it the flowers? Is it the decorations? Once you've established what you really need to have, you spend your money on that, and then everything else, you can kind of cut it off. You don't have to spend millions. There are those who spend millions. I've done weddings where I've spent about 4.6 million for 300 guests, but that's what they wanted to spend. And I've done weddings where we've had 700 guests and we've paid, 1 million? But that depends on what you want. So no, you don't have to have a huge budget to have your fairy tale wedding. You just need to be realistic about it.
The budget is what guides everything from the onset. As I always say, everybody has this fairy tale dream in their mind, but not everybody can be able to achieve it or execute it because the budget is what is a determining factor. So I always say from the onset, don't be intimidated by somebody who has done a wedding for 1.5 or 2 million for that matter, and probably also you have a budget of 300. What I always say, always do what is within your budget. Do or have a wedding that won't stress you moving forward in terms of planning and after the wedding, because there is life after the wedding. I don't and I'll never advise somebody to pick up a loan for the purposes of doing a wedding.
Experts propose different tips for couples who want to do a low-cost wedding. These tips cut across the whole process from planning to actual wedding.
She doesn't have to have a white wedding gown. As I said earlier, she can be as creative and innovative as she wants to be. We have gowns for hire, which are very much which are pocket friendly, I would say. So the gown hires the gown. The bride hires the gown from us and gives us a security which we return to her. Yeah, and we also we also price our gowns quite fairly.
In terms of dressing, it doesn't limit you. It doesn't limit you at all. So you can go the whole 9 yards on what you want to dress. You don't have to limit yourself, of course, to the white one. No, white is just the traditional, and they say, of course, the purpose of wearing white is the purity, blah, 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 and all that. But if you don't want the white, don't limit yourself to wear the white. Go color. You can do something that just has color, or you can go the whole, do even like a kitenge.
I want to do my wedding on a weekday. On a weekday, most people will not come, and I'm trying to cut down on costs. And my wedding is around where I've been brought up, so many people will want to come on a Saturday. So I want to do it on a weekday when everyone is working.
And it was cheaper than I thought when I compared the people who do their weddings in town with mine that I did in the village. Chefs are all over. You don't have to do it in town to find a good chef. Chefs are all over. Our mothers are very good cooks. They did it all. And that's a way of cutting costs in a wedding.
Somebody opted not to have cake, decided to have a live goat. That's what they cut. Are you getting me? Not a live goat, but a roasted goat that was there. As in, that's what they actually fed their guests as the so-called cake.
Instead of like cake, I'll do nyama. Instead of doing the Western food, I'll do mokimo, githeri, and all those traditional food that we do. The flowers, I'm going to have banana trees as flowers.
When you reach to the venue, do everything at one place. Or select somewhere that there's so many trees around. You getting me? Select somewhere there's so many trees around. You don't need those kind of tents. You don't need those whatevers. You just need some few linen just to show some color. Even you don't have to do flowers. Use the natural leaves just to create ambience of the place. Probably get the tables, or better still, yes, you can get the tables for guys to sit around and all that. And uniqueness again, get the local mamas to cook food for you. If you want uniqueness, you don't have to go the whole professional caterer, because people in the village love cooking, they enjoy cooking. Get just somebody, local mamas, to do good food for you. And this I'm saying because you want something that is cost managed, or rather cost effective according to, you know.
First, you have to work with the budget that you are comfortable with. So from there, you will know how to cut costs and what to work with. Like for example, mine, I decided to do it home, because home, most of the things you'll get cheaply, like food, vegetable, you cannot go and buy, you'll just get it ready in the village.
Dini yetu imependekezesha kwamba mke mzuri mwenye baraka ni mwenye mahari kidogo. Ni kwa ufupi ninaloweza kukueleza, kila mahitajio ya harusi yakiwa kidogo, ikiwa gharama ndogo, zinashajiisha wengine kuoa zaidi. Zinashajiisha wengine kuolewa zaidi.
You can decide after the ceremony, rather the church ceremony, to actually even just say or bid bye-bye to your guests.
The first thing you'll have to think about is the number of guests. The more guests you have, the more money you'll spend, and that's really the bottom line. Then you have to think about the venue. How much is the venue charging you? If you have a low budget, the best thing is to get a venue whereby you have everything, where you can get the tables and the chairs and you don't need to bring them in. So really, venue, your decor, then you make your decor minimum. You can still have a beautiful wedding with minimal amounts to spend. But your number of guests and your venue is really the two factors you'd have to think about. Everything else we can always work on.
Okay, they have to plan well in advance. Then they should not follow what everyone else is doing, like the Western things, limousine, I don't know, flowers, food from Sankara. They should do their traditional food, which is cheaper and it's locally it's available. And their gowns, they don't have to do gowns. Who said we have to do gowns? You can do a well African dress.
And when it comes to decoration and all that, you can do something that is slightly unique, something that is not necessarily flowers, the whole 9 yards. You can do something that is different but less costly and but more effective. Again, you can opt for an indoor wedding. That will cast on the tents, you'll cut on the tents, so you're able to do something that is indoor, still good enough. Also, when it comes probably to transport, hire from your friends, as opposed to, rather borrow from your friends, as opposed to going to car hires to get the cars. And that way, some of those things you'll be very comfortable to manage in terms of cost for somebody who is really on a tight budget.
Wedding is not how much money couples are going to use. It's about the sacraments. People coming together in mutual consent and understanding. Wedding is specific to different couples under different situations.
If you're planning a wedding, let it be about you, not about anybody else. And enjoy the day. Most people are so into the process and get so stressed about the process that they forget it's about, the day is about having fun, because some of them come to the end and they're like, oh, thank God that day was over. And I think that is really sad, because that's not what your wedding day is about. It should be a happy moment. So do what you want to do and enjoy the day.
Mutual consent is very essential, and it is very important in the Islamic wedding or the Islamic marriage.
Simplicity always brings out elegance. You don't have to do much. You don't have to do much for your wedding for it to stand out.
Uislamu kuoa lazima, ingawa pia waangalia hali zilivyo, matatizo yaliyoko, lakini ikiwa watu watakuwa ni wazima na wako salama, mume yuko afaaye na mke yuko afaaye, pasina udhuru wowote, Kiislamu haifai kuishi hivyo. Ni lazima mmoja aowe, mmoja aolewe, kwa sababu ndiyo chombo cha peke yake kinacholeta heshima na nidhamu kwa atakayekuja.
Also in a marriage, it is not only a bed of roses. There are hardship, difficulties here and there. Therefore, you are supposed to be patient. You're supposed to persevere in order for you to sail through to the other side. Therefore, marital sessions are there, pre-marital session, during the marriage, and also post, so as to bind the two together in a covalent bond.
As the couple, we all want a small intimate wedding. Hautaki watu wengi.
We do not want a very big thing. You know, we keep telling people, let's say, for example, you have your wedding here on Saturday and you have invited 2,000 people and somebody else has invited 10 people. As far as I'm concerned, there is no difference. Yeah. The people who matter are actually 5. The bride and the groom, the witnesses, and the minister. That is the least number of people that you should have in any marriage celebration. This is about the sacrament. Not about what people are going to see, not what they are going to say, because they can see that you have a beautiful one, but what is happening? Maybe you are going to spend the next 5 years paying debts. What for?